This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Look in the... Oh, it's that way. It's that way. That way. Yes. 1-0. We've won a game at home for the first time in 4. We've beaten a relegation rival West Ham, and it feels good. Oh, yeah, it feels good. And I'm happy. I think we're all happy. But there's going to be points to be made, as always. And boy, do we have an absolutely bombastic, super-duper show lined up for you today. We've got some great pundits, some great Wolves fans. Got a couple of debutants. We've got a couple of legends as well, all coming on to the show. And we want you in the comments to get involved as well, of course, because Wolves, hear it, we are out for the moment of the bottom 3. We are out for the moment of the relegation zone. So we've got a fantastic show ahead of us. And we're going to be hearing everyone's points. We're going to be looking at the man of the match. We're going to be looking at performance rating, the highlight of the day. And, of course, every fan, every pundit has to face the dreaded wheel as well. So bringing up first, we have Chris from Wolf Life. Hi. And Acorn to Oaks. You'll get more about that as a few months go on as well. We've got Hoops, the legend.
Good evening, all.
And we've got her back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lucy.
Woo, woo. Hi.
Hi, guys. You're the first 3 callers tonight. Absolutely brilliant. We've got loads more in the green room as well. And before we kick off, I do want to say a big thank you to Wolf Life for powering extra time. Get yourself a life insurance quote today in the link below. It's very important. I'm sure Chris will tell us more about that. And you'll get in the link in the draw to win a Wolf shirt and maybe, just maybe, some other Wolves goodies as well. So we're going to kick off first with Hoops. Hi, Hoops.
Evening, Dave. How you doing?
Mate, first of all, I'm drawn to your wolf that's behind you. Can you show everyone that wolf a little bit closer, please?
I can. Do you want me to grab the wolf? See if I can.
Yeah, we need to see this because this is good. My goodness me, that is one big wolf, man.
Blimey.
It's actually bigger than you. It's bigger than you. It's Hoops. That's one big wolf. That's not just a wolf. That's a dire wolf.
It is.
I know. Right, you know, I had one of those office games recently where it was like grab the biggest item, and this guy came out. So I think the backstory is there was a house sale, and someone said, "Oh, I've got something that you might like," and I was like, "Yeah, I would." This wolf is in my office. So yeah, it gets a few funny looks when we're on like formal office Zooms and so forth. But yeah.
Well,
the wolf is happy, I'm sure, this evening.
Has he got a Goodyear top on as well? Has he got the tyre top?
He's got the tyre marks. He's got no sponsors, so we won't. But yeah, he's got a tyre mark. So he's usually in this. I could give him another outfit, but yeah, he's Mate, quite friendly. So
what we'll have to do, we'll have to make a thing when you come on. Everyone, has he got a name?
Well, Wolfie, but we can give him a name if people want to put a vote for the name. Then by all means, we can give him a name.
You're going to go with Wolfie,
or her. No, I can't.
Or her. And if you've got a suggestion in the chat, and we'll ask all our pundits as well for a suggested name for Hoops's dire wolf. Then
looks a bit drunk there.
You can do. Mark Davis in the chat has said Diego would have trouble controlling that wolf.
Yeah. I think he would. He's quite quiet actually, though. So, but yeah, what he gets up to when I'm not around, I don't know. But yeah.
Well, member Carl Whitehouse is actually, if you see like the little wolves there, they're actually members. You can join the channel and become a member and get on the local chat, which is good. We'll talk between every game. He basically thinks you should give it a name. So if you've got any
put
names,
it out there.
We'll put it up there. Mark's actually gone with Diego, which is quite good. We've already got She-Wolf, and then George is a different one. Lucy, welcome back to the show, mate. Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm all right. Thank you, my mate. Nice to be smiling. Yay.
And you have got, I mean, you're looking quite dapper because you've got one of the trendy new training tops, haven't you? On?
Yes, I've got the training top on. Yes.
Very, very, very swell. And have you come back from a club that you go to tonight?
Yeah, I go to the Corpus Christi, which is on Ashmore Park, which is obviously where I live. And it's a great night in there. Great night. Great people. Great fun. So big up Corpus.
Fantastic. We've got a few more here. We've got John DeWolf.
Yes.
Another one, Julian. That's quite good. J-Lo, Julian. There's a few coming out with that as well. Chris, good to have you back on. Chris, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm very good. And how's life in the world of Wolf Life and Acorn to Oaks?
It's good. It's good. We talked about the Acorn to Oaks thing. I should point out Wolf Life is part of Acorn to Oaks. So that's
So Wolf Life is the life insurance part of Acorn to Oaks. Acorn to Oaks is mortgages and all that sort of stuff.
Everything. We do everything.
And we're going to hear a lot more about that in the coming months as well, aren't we?
Exactly. But fantastic. All good. Works good. And, happy to be celebrating a win, especially against a relegation or potential relegation rival. So, they're the teams you've got to beat, aren't they?
Absolutely. Someone's going for Lucy Wolf. I like that one as well. Welcome back, Lucy. There we go. Great. Edward over on Facebook is saying great times. Now, guys, it does feel good, doesn't it? Because we went into the World Cup and, of course, Christmas because the World Cup was so early. Bottom. Lopetegui obviously eventually we got our man, took him away. And Wolves have now taken 7 points out of the last 12 points available. Hoops, what points would you like to make today on the game and the Lopetegui era so far, if you want to go in deep?
Yeah, I think like many people watching this evening, feeling in a lot better way than. Well, I thought about it earlier, and if you remember the West Ham reverse game, which was basically the final nail in the coffin for Bruno Lage, things were very bleak. It looked like we weren't too sure sort of how the season was going to pan out, and of course that's still to be decided. But I'm absolutely optimistic. As Chris mentioned, we've beaten a team down at the bottom there, and I think if you look at our form post World Cup break, I think we're the sort of the top performing side amongst those around us. So I look at the chaos going on at Everton, at West Ham, at Leicester struggling. I wouldn't trade places with any of those. I look at the manager that we've got in charge. I would have him over Leeds. That Ted Lasso guy, Rodgers, I just don't think his heart's in it at Leicester. Bournemouth, O'Neill is a typical, he did well on loan, so let's give him a long-term contract. They don't have a budget. With all due respect to Bournemouth, they're not going to attract players by the size of the club. And, with Lopetegui, these players that we're bringing in, we're bringing in ultimately these players who the club have courted for a number of years, and for whatever reason, and I'm assuming the reason is Lopetegui, we can now bring these players in, because it shouldn't be overlooked that we are in a relegation scrap, and we're signing these players from decent sides. Now, the only common denominator here is the manager ultimately. So there is a long way to go, but I'm absolutely optimistic. I mean, when I came on here last time, I said, this squad is good enough. We have the quality, but it wasn't performing. And I did say it would frustrate me in some senses that they start to perform, because you realise that they had it in them. But we've heard a lot about the fitness. We've heard a lot about double sessions. I don't want to look back, but at that start of the season, yes, we will have some new impetus, but these are good players. So I'm happy with the quality of the squad. Still think we need an outright number 9. I think we've got a lot of forwards, but not many strikers. But I'm in a real optimistic place at the moment, and I think so much of that is down to the fact that I feel that we've got the right man in charge, and I feel fortunate that we've managed to appoint him. And thank God, Mick Beale did work out. Because,
I was thinking that. You know what? I was thinking that earlier. To be honest,
it's crazy how football can change. So, yeah, I'm really optimistic. We'll perhaps dig into the game. I think just relief yesterday was the main thing, really. Just to see a win, because it's been pretty tough watch for all of us this season. So, yeah, in summary, I was optimistic when Lopetegui came in because this is a serious coach, and credit to the board because they're backing this guy. They're backing this guy because he's brought in about 7 of his own staff, and they're backing him financially as well. There may be future planning with some of these signings, and we may see a little bit of an exodus in the summer. But let's be absolutely clear, they're serious because they know what's at stake here. So I'm optimistic, and I wouldn't trade places with any of those in the bottom 7.
Absolutely. Some great points. And as you say, about the signings, Lamina has already come in. I did a transfer update a couple of days ago. That one's already happened. Looks like Joe Gomez from Flamenco is going to be happening. He's on his way over as well. And Sarabia, who is from PSG. He's imminent as well, apparently, and he scored 21 goals last year for when he was on loan. I think must have been on loan at Benfica, and got 10 assists. And I know it's in the Portugal league and stuff like that, but that's still impressive as well. It seems like they're making moves. Kuna looked good as well. Lucy, what point do you want to make?
I'm excited again, Dave. I'm excited. I'll go to the game now, and I think we can do this again. We can do it. It feels different. The atmosphere yesterday was electric, the way it should be. It could be more. So hopefully on Tuesday night it'll be even better. But yesterday it was great. It felt like the way it should be again. And yeah, as I say, I'm excited again. I love it. Love it.
Excitement is good, and I'll stand corrected. It was Sporting Lisbon, of course. That I'm hoping I'm saying this right. Sarabia, he was on loan at Sporting Lisbon. 21 goals in 45 games, which is impressive. Chris, what's the points that you would make? What you want to put out across?
Well, echoing a lot of what Hoops and Lucy said, isn't it fantastic to be excited about what we're going to do now and not be worrying? I think we can be excited. We'll feel like we can be excited. I think he's obviously working them hard. I think that you can see on the pitch that they look like they're working harder. I was so impressed with Semedo.
Good shout on that. That's a very good
brilliant
shout.
Game.
I gave my man of the match, Semedo, yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. But not just getting forward. He did get forward, but his defending seems to have improved as well. So whether that's something Lopetegui's been working on, or maybe it was always there and he needed a push in the right direction. But I just think they're working harder. They're more maybe better team spirit, and the atmosphere, although it was a bit nervous at the end when we were all a bit like squeaky bum time, but I think it's just great to be looking forward. And we, like Hoop said, we need to be beating the teams around us. It'd be nice to beat Liverpool, but we need to be getting results against the bottom half teams, because we can't be drawing them games, especially the home games.
Absolutely. Well, we beat Everton 2-1,
right.
and there's an absolute meltdown going on Merseyside after the weekend. Everton especially losing at home again. It's like, how does Lampard keep in his job? I just don't know. But I mean, I've seen some of the Everton content on YouTube, and there is literally a literal meltdown going on. And you know, I mean, Southampton, that's a big plus for them. Obviously, Forest have picked up recently. I mean, if you look at that mini league that you were talking about, and maybe Carl, if you can write it up in the comments, we can put that little mini league up. But Forest and Wolves have both taken 7 points from their 4 games, and you know, it's got both teams out of the bottom 3, and it's very, very tight. If you, I'm just going to pull up actually and put up on the screen the Premier League table, so we can have a little bit of a look at the table, because it's quite tight. Here we go. Can you see that, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you actually look at that table now, you can see Southampton bottom on 15, minus 17 goal difference. Everton are now in the bottom 3 with minus 11 on 15. West Ham, minus 10, just above them on 15. Bournemouth, who are sinking like the Titanic, are on 16. Then you've got Wolves on 17, played 19 games, minus 15. Leicester are only above us now on goal difference. Leeds are above us on goal difference, played 1 goal left. And then obviously you have a little gap to Forest. And then Palace lost again today. So you look up to 12th place, and there is 7 points separating 12th to 20th. That's crazy. What do you think about that, Chris?
I mean, it just shows the winning 2 games, you're going to be almost mid-table. Yeah. And it's just, you know, I think we've got momentum behind us. The last 3 games, we've gained momentum. I think confidence is such a big thing in football, and I'm just hoping that, you know, starting to score a few goals will get through to, you know, the strikers who we've mentioned. You know, we all want a number 9. I do wonder whether one of these players they're buying is going to be the number 9, and maybe they're not going to be a traditional, what we think of as a number 9 and what Raul is. Maybe they're going to be like a false 9 type player. Who knows?
Well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, that guy that seems to be coming from PSG, who was on loan at Sporting Lisbon, who the 21 goals and 9 assists, he sounds like a really good signing. Hoops, Carl's just putting up that mini league that you were mentioning. So you can see there, Wolves 7 points, Forest 7 points, Southampton 3 points as well, Leeds 2 points, Everton 1 point. And then if we put the bit below there, you can see West Ham and Leicester and Bournemouth in the four games that they've played since the new year, no points at all. I mean, Leicester had kind of got themselves away, hadn't they, Hoops?
Mm. They had, and if you remember the game against Leicester at Molineux, you know, they were miles ahead of us, weren't they, at that stage? And, you know, again, they've got some real good players there, but they seem to have stagnated. But I just think, you know, you reference the sort of mutiny happening at Everton, and you look at some of those sides around us. The key here is when you're in a relegation battle, you don't want it to be between 3 or 4. But arguably, when we looked at that league there, if you bring Palace into it as well, there's 8 sides there. So, yeah, you know,
you've got to count Palace because they're only 2 points clear of Forest. I mean, they're a good side. They've had a good season. They've had a couple of difficult games, but you've got to count them, haven't you?
Yeah, you have got to count them. But again, when I look at the window, there's some real uncertainty there with some of those sides. If you look at West Ham and Moyes and Everton and Lampard, those are 2 managers there who are under real pressure. Now, if I was a prospective player, would I want to come into either of those sides not knowing who was ultimately maybe in charge? That's whereas right. with us making that decision early with Lopetegui, we know what's, you know, in store. So we see more of a solid, well-rounded side. So we've got lots to be optimistic about. And as you say, the league is bonkers, top and bottom, actually, with some of the results we've seen over the weekend. So, yeah, I don't want to come across overconfident, but we've got so many reasons to be positive, and I'm quite relaxed about the situation. We are in a precarious position. We are, of course we are. But with some of these sides that will take points off each other, then I'm relaxed that we'll will steady the ship quite sooner rather than later, and we'll be looking upwards.
Definitely looking upwards. I mean, Lucy, is that something that you're feeling? I mean, are you feeling that the performance level, the fitness level, the togetherness, the belief, the quality, the structure are all starting to come together under Julian Lopetegui?
Very much so, 100%. I think the thing that I look for when I'm watching games is the togetherness of the team, playing as a team, connecting. And there's so much connection now that there wasn't a couple of games ago. You know, before even the first game with Lopetegui, they were still a bit iffy to get. They weren't playing as a team. They were very selfish when they were playing. Now they look up. They look to see who's around them. And it's great to watch again. Absolutely great to watch. You know, that I'm really, really happy. I am.
Lucy's got a smile on her face.
I am.
I think one of the things that I've sort of noticed, and I know he's got a couple of yellow cards recently. I mean, you know, we talked about the incident last week, the Liverpool, that goal that was a goal, and you know, I'm sure I'm looking forward to Tuesday night. I think Liverpool are there for the taking. I think justice should be served. We'll come on to that, I'm sure. And then you've got obviously the penalty against Forest. You can see Lopetegui, how he's really been going at it on the touchline. But the way I look at that is he's setting the stall out of the passion and the fight that he's exuding from the touchline, and that seems to be feeding down into the players, most of the players anyway. And if they're seeing their manager that's so, you know, so involved in everything that's happening and showing that passion, you can see on some of the way that they're chasing the ball down, they're closing down, the way they're throwing their bodies in the bottle at the back, you know, the way they're running that extra lot. And, you know, we've seen again that we seem stronger towards the end of games, which we didn't see against Bruno Lage. I mean,
what's great, Dave? When we score and off the bench, they all get up and cheer again. You know, and when the full-time whistle went, they all got up. Every single one of them went to that touchline cheering with us. It was brilliant, and we haven't seen that for so long.
Well, you're absolutely right, because you look on the touchline, you know, everyone that hasn't played, the players that have come off the pitch are celebrating, and he seems to have got this. Everyone seems a lot happier and feels more part of it. But what I mean, the Geddes situation, Hoops. What do you take on? Obviously, he was left out. This people said about Geddes. It's been out today that he's rumored to have been asked Mendes for a move back to Valencia and stuff like that. Are we reading too much into that? He did play, you know, against Liverpool in the cup. I think he was in the squad against Forest. He was left out. Lopetegui said it was tactical reasons. Are we reading too much into that?
No, I don't think we are. I think just before I move on to that, if I may, Dave, because you make a really good point about Lopetegui. And when you were describing how he is, I thought back to Nuno's last season and body language. Now, fans will remember Nuno in his last season and how amazing he was. And we'll remember prior to that when he run up the touchline when we got that last-minute goal. But body language is key, isn't it? When you see somebody on the line, you know that they're involved. And I think that's absolutely right. And I think that helps the press as well as the team. And it just reminded me that when Nuno lost that, I felt we lost our way. But that's an aside, but I just wanted to mention it. But in terms of Geddes, it appears it hasn't worked out. I think with many of the players that we've brought over the years, sometimes it takes half a season to get up and running. You know, Neto, Dendoncker, there are a number of players. But with Geddes, and again, body languages, we'll go back onto that. He doesn't look like he wants to be part of things. That's probably unfair of me because I don't know him personally. It's just the impression that he gives by his performances. But ultimately, if Chen Campbell's on the bench and he's not injured, I can't see a way back for him. It does to me. He can't, Lopetegui, publicly say that. But if a player who's in seniority is not even in the squad, and there's an academy striker on the bench. We can only read into it one way for me. So I wouldn't expect him to be here by the end of the window, particularly with the players we're bringing in.
Well, I think you make a good point. I think we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. It'd be interesting to see the team that starts against Liverpool, because I think the players, I think they will be fired up, because I think they feel aggrieved. I hope we do knock Liverpool out, but then the producer was saying then we've got to go away to Brighton, and it's a bit of a solar stage. You know, I always think Brighton, and they're playing really well. Chris, your highlight of the day, your man of the match, and your performance rating.
Well, I'm going to go man of the match. I'm going to go Semedo, because I did think he performed well, going, defending and getting forward. Highlight of the day, it's going to be obviously the goal, isn't it? It was a brilliant strike from the edge of the box and just straight arrow into the corner. I'm going to say 8 out of 10, because I think we can do better. I think we can play better. I think our last third play will get better over time, and I think Mateus was great in the midfield, and the longer he plays with Neves and Moutinho or whoever else they're putting there, they're just going to get better and better. So he's a Rolls Royce of a player, Mateus. But yeah, 8.5, but the goal was the highlight of the day for me.
Fantastic. You make a good point about Núñez. All he needs is his first Wolves goal now to come. He's starting to look imperious on the ball, of the way he makes space. Yeah. And on Guedes, he's a little bit like Trincao. I think in the situation you can see flashes of his ability, but he never quite settled. So we'll have to wait and see. Lucy, over to you now. Same question.
Semedo, all day long. Semedo, he was superb. Going forward, defending, he was brilliant. The speed that lad's got on him that we haven't seen before. I don't know where that came from, but blimey, he's been training with Troy already a bit. He was brilliant. He was great.
Isn't it so nice to be like waxing lyrical about Semedo?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
isn't it?
right.
He just needs to do that every game.
Yes. Yeah. It's such a shame when, they all have bad games. Every single one of them do. But he seems to have more than others. But so when he does have a fantastic game like he did yesterday, it's so nice to, encourage, and say, well done. It's just great. Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8 overall. I think brilliant. Great game. There were areas that could have been improved. Some of the passing. Collins was making a few mistakes, even though he did ever so well yesterday. There were a few mistakes.
He has started to look a bit more like himself the last 2 or 3 games. After getting that red card, I think it's really affected him. But yeah, he's got the odd mistake in him. But his positional play alongside Kilman and everything, the whole defence really did a good job. Yeah. You only saw that nearly messed it up in that one time when he nearly did an Allison, didn't he, and passed it straight. We got away with it.
Yeah. And my moment of the day, I think seeing my brother, because I haven't seen him for a while, to be honest. I haven't seen him since Boxing Day. And last week he proposed to his girlfriend, Lisa. And he said yes. So, yeah, that was my moment.
A moment of the day. It doesn't have to be the game. It could be anything. And there you've pulled out a nice one there, Lisa.
Rob and Lisa.
Make sure, congratulations and on your engagement from all of us here. Hoops, same to you. Highlight of the day, moment of the day, man of the match and performance rating.
Highlight of the day. I'll pick something which I guess won't be picked by others. A little bit personal, but not too personal. So behind me at the game yesterday, there was some fans over from Korea. The big fans of Hwang Hee-chan, and it does frustrate me that people kind of get one on them about sort of tourist fans or Johnny Kunlately's and so forth, because it's like, where's your entitlement? And these fans that were behind me, they were so infused about the game. They were so behind the team. And I was sort of vicariously getting their enjoyment from it as well. So to me, it was great that they saw a Wolves win. And, potentially that was their first time at Molineux, and they've left, and, they saw
probably spent a few bob in the club shop as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. They're star players, so good luck to them. So I thought that was nice. I can't disagree with Semedo as man of the match, because absolutely I agree. I can't disagree. I think he was fantastic. I think he's a really good player. I've always liked him, but of course he's not had a good start to the season. But he hasn't been alone in that. But I think there's a very good player there, and I think there's been touched on by the others. Offensively and defensively, I think he gives us something more as an outlet. And yeah, I think 8 is a fair score. I think it was a very strong performance. It's a clean sheet. It's a win. So a good 8 out of 10 for myself as well.
Mate, as always, you make an absolutely brilliant pundit, and you make some great points. It's now time for the wheel. So let's bring the wheel on.
This is where it goes downhill.
And I will update these questions when we get to the international break. But we'll see what we get, because there's some Wolves questions and there's some not. So it's spinning. It's an interesting one. We're going to go with Chris first. Have you ever seen a ghost, and do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, I believe that ghosts, it could be possible. I've never seen a ghost. I can't say any more than that. But yeah, I think it's possible.
The producer has actually seen and spoken to a real life ghost.
Get out of it. Spoken to.
Yeah, she worked in Lichfield in an old building. What was the guy's name? Rupert. And he used to turn the taps on, and she used to tell him, Rupert, can you stop it? And then he'd turn the taps off. And wasn't there a time when you were in there and some young girl was in there and said, who's the man in the back? And there's like, there is no man. The customers used to see him. Yeah.
My dad reckons he saw a guy. My dad's no longer with us, but he reckons he used to be a postman, and they used to do security every so often on a Saturday night. And he reckons he was there one night and he heard somebody walking along the corridor, and he went up and there was nobody there, and he thought his mate had just been going the other way. So he came back and went back to where he was meant to be, and he said, "Oh, I just heard you up there." And he said, "I haven't been up there." And he's like, And there's nobody else there. So it was only footsteps, but it spooked my dad a little bit. And yeah, so I've never seen one, but I think it's possible. Yeah.
There you go. Jazz has come on, who's a West Ham fan. A class comment from him. Hi, Dave, West Ham fan here. You lot were deserved winners. You could see a marked difference in your performance since the game in London. Meanwhile, we're so sluggish. I copy and paste report. It was really quality. Thank you for that, Jazza. Lucy, you next. Have you seen a ghost, and do you believe in ghosts? I guess if you've seen one, you'll probably believe in one.
I do believe.
And I don't mean like, one off the telly or anything like that.
No, I do believe. But I haven't actually seen anything, but I've heard.
You've heard bumps.
I've heard, yeah. You know, these ghost things, these ghost hunting things that you have on the telly. Well, the one time there was the Derek Okora, I think his name was, weirdo. I mean, he's died now, he has. But he could hear dogs in the background, and nobody else could hear him. And then all of a sudden, I heard an Alsatian, and it was proper loud in my ears, really loud, as if it was sat next to me, barking down my ears. And then he turned round and he said, "There's an Alsatian in the corner." And it's barking down. It's really, really loud. And I'd have to turn it off. I couldn't watch anymore. It was freaking me. I've got goosebumps thinking about it. I didn't like that.
I can very much imagine, mate. That would be a little bit freaky. And Hoops, what about you?
I've not seen a ghost to my knowledge.
Well, I am looking behind you. That the dire wolf's moving.
Just winked at you.
It just went like this.
I'll have to watch this back. Yeah, I'll be a bit concerned if I come into the office in the morning and he's naked, or if he's another top, and maybe there has been a ghost who's playing tricks on me. Yeah. So no, but look, I'm open-minded. I don't know. I think the closest I kind of got to that world was. I remember being at school and I'm sure I can say this now. We broke into kind of like the oldest part of the school, because we kind of was told, oh, that's the haunted part of the school. And we did have a Ouija board, and it was moving, but I'm sure we were doing that. So we tried to scare ourselves as kids. So that's my only sort of connection that I can remember to try and get into the spirit world. But I didn't have anybody... I don't know the exact terminology, kind of transfer or connect with anyone, shall I say, other than us just trying to kind of scare each other. So I'm open-minded to it. But yeah, I'm going to kind of be having a cautious look at this fella behind me tonight now. You're kind of getting me on edge now already.
Well, let's hope on Tuesday night that the Wolves forwards are ghosting past the Liverpool defence. And
nice.
Guys, ever so much. Thank you ever so much for your contributions coming on first. It's been absolutely brilliant. We've had a good laugh as well, which is brilliant. Chris, do you just want to give a little plug for Wolf Like an 8 on 2 before we go?
Yeah, certainly. So we're here. We're a local firm. We're based in Bilston. We're all local people. We're here to help you with any life insurance you might look at, but also we can help you with, I'm sure most of us have got mortgages, and we all know that mortgages are a bit of a touchy subject at the moment, so we can help you get the best deals for mortgages. And any of you guys who might have your own businesses, we can help you with business to business insurance, so you business owners will know what you need, and we can help you with that as well. So we're here for anything you might want to contact us about. Just drop me a line.
And you can get there's a contact form which enters you into the winner shirt and stuff below. So there's only about like 2 or 3 lines. Fill that in and get yourself in for that as well. And you can get a quote for these off Chris. And say they're a local company, so they like to try and help local people. So Chris, fantastic. Thanks for coming on. Guys, all the best. Let's hope that we're back next weekend having not Liverpool out and taking 3 points off City, and we're all doing this. Yeah, that would be good. Right, all the best, guys.
Cheers, Dave.
Take care, all.
Take care, mate. Cheers, Oops. Cheers, Luce.
Absolutely brilliant from the guys today. And, just to say, guys, that it really is appreciated that all you guys in the chat get involved. And if you're brand new watching the channel tonight, there's been over 200. If you subscribe to the channel, you can join in the conversation. We're literally only 8 subscribers short of 30,400. So get on, subscribe, and get on the channel. So we do have, finally, I'm glad to say, man, the myth, the legend. We've had so many technical difficulties. We've got Paul, and then we've also got, making his full debut today, Memphis John.
Oh yeah, cannot wait for this.
Can't wait for this. And we've got another top lad, and we've got on the next post, we've got some great pundits coming up as well. We've got Jack looking very dapper in his Wolves top. Paul's wearing the old black one. Jack's wearing the new one, and John has got his scarf. Paul, hallelujah, my friend. Literally, hallelujah. Finally got it working. We did a test earlier, didn't we?
We've had a few challenges, haven't we, with it? But yeah, all seems to be working well so far.
I mean, look at this already. Mansell, we've got Jack the man as well. Paul with no feedback. It's great. Memphis bringing some energy. I'm loving this.
We are Wolves.
It's absolutely fantastic. So we're going to have an absolutely brilliant one. Guys, Paul, it's so good to have you. Jack, brilliant. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. How are you?
I'm good. And John, you all right?
I just got back home from coming up to Wolves. Yeah, live in London. So Yeah, didn't have time to get my strip on.
John, you needed to have milked that back. You should have milked it then. I've just got back to Memphis, is what you should have said.
I have literally, it took 13 hours because I got a boat back to Memphis and it was rough, but it was worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. Paul, listen, mate, I'm so happy. I mean, I came and saw you in Lupo after the game as well. We were all ecstatic because we'd won. How are you feeling a day after?
You get that glow, don't you, for a good 24 hours at least after the match. And the first thing I did this morning when I woke up was race downstairs and get match of the day on with the kids. And yeah, that feeling just lasts all weekend, doesn't it? And it's such a great psychological boost to be looking down and there's 4 teams below us in the table, having been bottom at Christmas. So things are changing quickly, and like the rest of the fan base, I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling good. Oh yeah, we love that. Absolutely, Paul. Mate, I'm just so glad that we've got you back, because you always make so many good points on the show when you come on as well. And obviously, you're one of the main podcast hosts on the Always Wolves as well. So it is really good to finally have you sorted. Jack, make your points, mate. How you feeling?
Relieved, I think. We said, didn't we, in the build up to the game when we were talking about the Liverpool game and looking ahead to the Forest game, West Ham was the game. That was the one yesterday that we wanted to win. Forget the FA Cup, forget the Carabao Cup. Great as cup runs are for momentum and confidence and form, you want to start winning your league games. And when you've got a game at home to a team that aren't playing well, you need to win that game. And we said before the game, whether it's a scrappy, scruffy 1-0 off someone's backside in the 90th minute, you take it. And I think I'm going to skip out. I'm going to shake it up a bit. I'm going to go for my moment of the day straight here, right? That noise when the final whistle went was a mixture of elation, delight, pure relief. Honest, I've not heard Molyneux that kind of noise for a long, long time. And I think it was just a case of everyone going, we'd all built it up in our heads, hadn't we, that this was a must-win game. We had to get something from this game. We had to get the 3 points. And to do it and to be, I'm going to say we were fairly comfortable in the game. I never really felt West Ham had a huge amount to throw at us. Just to get over the line and get those 3 points, I think he's going to be absolutely massive for us.
Is this what you mean, mate?
Exactly, yeah.
That's exactly what we were talking about. That bit of joy that we had. How do I get that off the screen now? It's come on. There we go. Fantastic. Yeah, no, it was that's for the relief. You saw the relief in my dad's face. You saw the relief on my father-in-law's sensation and magic. Was so happy, and you are right, mate, because like we were winning the game, we got the goal. You know, the irony of the goal, it kind of came from Saar making that mistake, putting us into trouble. They got a corner after a bit of pressure through it. It was a bit of a jumble, but we had the composure to pass it out. And then they got Semedo, who was like, you know, a newly born antelope that had got so much energy. And his energy levels, I don't know where they come from, but he was up and down that pitch all day. And he had the intelligence to knock it into Nunes. Nunes had made the break with him. Pundit, I think, made the initial pass out. I think he did. Carried on the run. And Nunes knocked it out. And, you know, sometimes you just need a little bit of luck. And it deflected slightly into Pundit's path. And he didn't even think about it. Straight away, bang, bottom corner, great strike. You know, who would have thought at this stage of the season that Daniel Pundit has scored nearly half of our Premier League goals with 5? Absolutely amazing. John, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I got so many. So, well, I'll start off with my first experience in the South Bank. So I know the elation. I know the frustration of being that close to the action. I know you're North Bank, so I'm not going to have a fight here about that. But
I'll say so. I do have the button to kick you out. You know.
Oh yes, you do. Yes, you do. So the point I want to ask you something, because I think we have to steel ourselves and be ready for J-Lo style of play. So I saw things from my privileged position in the South Bank. Kick me off the show.
No, we love it. The thing is, John, everyone is a fan. South Bank, Billy Wright, whatever, North Bank, we're all in it together. It's only
sadly, it looks like you're going to have to be having a lot more of me because my guy is willing to let me come up anytime I want and sit with him in the South Bank. So that's great news.
It's a long
flight from Memphis.
Stand in the South Bank.
Say that again.
Stand in the South Bank.
Yeah, we said that we stand this whole time and sing. It was absolutely exactly what the doctor ordered for me. I love it. But I will say we saw the Julian Lopetegui style of play working it out the back like most of the big teams. And it was, let me just quote the small newspaper in London. Wolves demonstrated a masterclass in how to beat a high press on Saturday while supporters trembled. Yes, I was trembling. Jose Sa and the defenders in front of him played with ice in their veins. So I know Chris and several of these guys said Semedo was the star of the show. But when you look at the data, the typical American to do this, it was Max Kilman, and he had ice in his veins. Can I just run some stats by you? Because I'm going to be accused by Hoops of being the Ted Lasso.
Go for it, because Paul loves stats as well.
Okay, Paul, hear me out. Because I know Hoops has already accused me of being the Ted Lasso since I used to work for U.S. Soccer. So I know you'll make fun of me after. But let me just prove my point. While you look at the actual heat map of Semedo, I mean, it is just insane. It looks like a shirt I used to wear before a lady from Wolves.
Side, yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah, we see.
All up and down the right-hand side. It looks like this thing that my wife made me get rid of. She's from Wolverhampton. She made me get rid of. It's called a flame licker shirt. He was literally licking the flames up and down that side. Amazing. But let me just read the data about Max Kilman. 8 clearances, 3 block shots, 5 tackles, 5 ground duels, and 8 aerial duels. Semedo wasn't anywhere near that. I actually think the way to play J-Lo ball is out the back, and we're going to be so nervous that Jose Sa is going to do a Liverpool Guedes goalkeeper thing, and he may, but I actually think it's going to lead to better results. So I am ready for high risk, high reward football, but I don't think you three are. Discuss.
Well, Paul, go with it. let's just hold on. We'll just pass the cup over to Paul, and he can come in on that one.
It's going to be scary. We're gonna have mistakes, but are you ready for this?
Yeah, it's a fair summary that you make there. You can see that we're definitely trying to play out more from the back, build our attacks, because in the past some of that play from the back would have just gone long into a channel, and it would have come back, and then we're under pressure. I do think, and I said this to my daughter during the match, sometimes there is an opportunity to put it in behind teams because we have got pace, and that can hurt teams, can't it, by getting in behind? But I think in general, the reward does outweigh the risk. And okay, there might be an occasional goal that we concede as a result, but I don't think that will be enough to stop that from being our philosophy in general.
But are you ready? Oh, sorry, continue.
Am I ready? Yeah. You hear mutterings around you, don't you, when they're playing around at the back, especially when it's 0-0 or they're losing. Just get it forward type thing. And I think as a fan base, sometimes we have to be a bit more patient and recognise that actually it can be a good defensive strategy as well by playing out from the back, because if you've got the ball, they can't score. And I know what the idea is, that you try and draw the opposition out, you try and tire them out, and you can exploit that later in the game. So I think it's a case of decision making. It's trying to do it at the right times, in the right circumstances. And in general, the fans have got to accept it and accept that there might be 1 or 2 nervy moments. But in general, it's going to have more good than bad, I believe.
I'll just come in on, let me come in on that because it's an interesting point that you make, Paul, on that, because it was interesting at halftime on the Always Wolves members group on Discord. There was there was a lot of debate about exactly that, about like getting the ball forward. And I actually, I wish Craig was on here today, because it is, when you're watching it, it can seem a little bit frustrating. But I said I was okay with it, because I could see like what they were trying to do is draw them in and then play it through the middle, and and then you create more space for yourself in the middle of the park. It can be a bit of a dangerous one, but it was all right. Jack, your thoughts on that as well? Because I mean, John's laid put the gauntlet down. What do you say?
No, I agree, and I'm going to just expand it a little bit. I think the most important player in Lopetegui ball is Mateus Nunes, because when you're playing around at the back and you're drawing on their front line to you, that's great. But you've got to then have a midfielder who can carry the ball past their midfield, because then you're going to have 4v3 or 5 against 4 every single time on the counter-attack. And you saw that a little bit yesterday. He was up against probably the best defensive midfielder in the league in Declan Rice, and he only got past him a couple of times. But he waltzed past Man United's midfield the other week. He waltzed past Villa's midfield. He waltzed past Liverpool in the Cup, didn't he, when he came on? He's going to be so important in terms of beating that press, because once we've got the ball out from the back, if their midfield are able to get back into shape and their back four can get back into shape, you've lost your counter-attack straight away. If they can get the ball to Nunes quickly and he can then take it past their midfield, you're onto their defence in 5-6 seconds after Sarr's had the ball or Kilman's had the ball, and that's where the goals are going to come from. We saw it against Everton with the last-minute winner, when Nunes got the ball, carried it, bang over to Traore, crossing, and Aït-Nouri finishes. I think we're going to score a lot of goals like the one we scored yesterday and the one we scored against Everton. And I think Nunes is going to be absolutely key to that, because he can beat a player really quickly and really effectively through the middle of the pitch, and that's where the danger is going to be.
Quite an interesting debate. Go on, John. It's your turn to come back now. It's like question time, this is.
Here we go. Well, I will say I have to. The question I asked Paul, am I ready for this? I've got to answer myself. I'm not sure, now that I'm going to be in the South Bank, being that close to the action, I'm not sure I'm ready for what I saw Jose Sa do. Dave, you wouldn't have seen it as closely as I saw it, because it happened on literally 10 meters from me. Jose Sa had the ball. Michael Antonio tried to slide tackle him in the box, and he just kind of pulled it back. And did you remember this at all? It was not on your end, but you guys maybe saw it in the replay. It wouldn't have been a highlight because it scared the crap out of me. But basically, J-Lo has told him, we're working it out the back. You find a way to get it, ideally left, right, or as you say, to Mateus. But it is nerve-wracking. I'm up for it, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is this is going to be scary, and I think J-Lo has told Sa that he's running the show, and we are playing out of the back, and you may mess up, but you are the key to kickstarting the way I want to play. And I'm up for this high-risk thing for sure, but I think there's going to be some nervy moments. In fact, I'm ready for it, but my alter ego, if you believe in ghosts, that's my alter ego right there. I'm not sure my alter ego is ready for it, because
I've got it moving. It's levitating to one way.
It is. Do you believe in ghosts? Of course I do. That guy can handle it. This guy who has to actually be in the South Bank, it was very nerve-wracking. Very nerve-wracking yesterday.
John, your personality is just literally coming through in 3D through the screen and everything as well. It is fantastic. Paul, what's the main points that you want to make from yesterday's game?
I think the main thing was the result, and again, we've beaten a team around us in the table. So that's Southampton and Forest and West Ham now at home, all teams that are in and around us. Everton away. We're picking up really important wins against the teams near to us in the table. So that was really the classic phrase is a 6-pointer, isn't it? That's used, and it really was yesterday, because if they'd have beaten us, imagine looking at the table this morning and seeing us bottom on 14. West Ham would have 18 points, wouldn't they? One thing I did feel was that we controlled the game in the first half, and the possession stats bear that out, I think. But I think we went too deep too quickly after they scored. We almost scored in the second half a bit too early. Was it 48, 49 minutes?
49th minute, yeah.
And although, ironically, we probably came closest to scoring on 2 occasions after
Never
that
hit the
still.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Raul had a marginal offside. It was a good finish from Raul as well.
And just on that as well, by the way, I've seen a replay, and I said this at the time. I said, I'm sure that's come off their player. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did that not happen to us last Saturday when Salah scored? I don't really understand what the difference is, because if you look at that replay, I think it's Aït-Nouri, isn't it, that clips it through. It comes off a West Ham defender on the way to Jimenez. So
Paul,
watch out for that.
I actually grabbed that clip right when someone else was talking, because that was my moment of the match. I need a fellow North American like Jimenez to come good. I don't want him to go to Besiktas. And absolutely, it came off of West Ham. And it was exactly only one person made the comment on Twitter, which shocked me, because it was exactly the Salah situation. And the point that Ryan made on Twitter was, I think the refs then had to look at the badge to decide who was going to win.
Jack, I mean, did you see that as well? I mean, the Salah one, it was kind of looped up and it turned, but like if it's come off his head, surely it's a similar situation.
Yeah, there's one in the first half as well when I think Podence flicked it on. Ogbonna headed it backwards. Kuna picked up possession and he was flagged offside. Now, I don't. I mean, you don't want to have a degree in offsides, do you, to understand what's going on? But I mean, we're going off topic. But the Manchester United one yesterday, that can't be a goal.
I think it's relevant. I think I think it is relevant because you're seeing all these things. I mean, that Rashford goal, it's like how he's not interfering with play and affecting the defenders' reactions around him. And then he pulls out the last minute. I mean, it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? And there seems like there's supposed to be clear rules about this, but these clear rules are ruling out making crazy decisions.
It's all because of VAR, isn't it? Before VAR, you're offside or you're onside. There's nothing in between. There's no grey area. None of these phases of play. Who's deliberately played the ball? When was the ball played? Now we've got all these lines being drawn with a ruler on the screen. And you've got this, that, and the other. We're pulling it back. Can we have the reverse angle? It's making a mockery of it because, as fans in the stadium, we don't know what's going on. When Raul scored yesterday, I quickly looked to my right to see the linesman and saw him put the flag up. I thought, here we go. But then they're checking the goal, and it took them a little bit of time to check it, didn't it? And you're kind of thinking, this is close then. This is closer than perhaps we thought.
The screenshot, it was close.
Yeah. But again, if people are watching at home or watching it wherever they're, on television, they've got a better understanding of what's going on than we have in the stadium, and that can't be right. I'll probably say every time, it can't be right that the people who are paying money in the stadium to watch have less of an idea of what's going on than the people watching on Sky or watching.
I mean,
this VAR offside is becoming a nonsense.
I have to agree with you. It's a frustration, and it's something that does need to be sorted out. They're trying to get better on the communication. We looked in the World Cup and the way they did it. There was never an argument with anything, was there? With any of the offside decisions in the World Cup that I can remember, anything seemed to just work like clockwork. They had how they showed it as well. It was in a different way. Why isn't it the same over here?
Can I make a tiny little point? I got in a heated discussion in the men's loo of the Combermere Arms, which oddly has a tree growing in the middle of it. But it was all over the way American situations handle that. So if you go to the NFL or the NBA, they are required to speak to the audience. As in, there's a controversy around whether a ball went in before the shot clock went off. They are required to review it and then speak to the audience. LeBron James did actually get the ball through the hoop at 0.1 seconds. Thank you very much. You can now go back to enjoying your game. I think unless we deal with this C word, which I hate mentioning, but it's called corruption, the refs are going to have to start explaining to the audience, because as Jack says, it is just not fair, and it is not the way the world works to leave the people who pay the good money to be there, the hardcore fans, and leave them in the dark. It does not make sense.
Great point. Paul, question to you, because you work at Staffordshire University, you're doing a degree in psychology and all of that sort of stuff. at Staffordshire, and you're teaching at Staffordshire University, should I say? On the psychology part of it, what's Lopetegui done? How do you see how he seems to be changing the mindset of these Wolves players?
I think the key word is belief. He's given the players belief, and studies show that beliefs change a whole host of things, including the biology inside your body. And I think now that you can see that through the body language. I think you can see it through the style of play. And I think it's very, very simple that he's made them believe that they are better than what they've been doing and that they can get out of the dire situation that we were in, being bottom of the table at Christmas. So that's the first thing, belief. The second one, I think, is cohesion. I think he's all got them to buy into this goal, this one goal that we have of staying up. That's evident in the social media posts of the players. If you look at the language that they use, it's all about being together. It's all about fight. So that would be my top two answers, really. He's given them belief and he's also brought them together. And there's a greater sense of cohesion about that team at the moment.
Very, very good point. Right, Jack, we're going to go on.
Well, I was just going to answer that with Paul. If you look at Lopetegui, it's we.
Yeah.
It's not you, the players, and me, the manager. It's not they, the players, and me and I. It's we. He's already been booked twice. He started a fight on Wednesday night. Okay, so he's in the middle of this group, and I'm with you. You are my players, but we are a team, and I will go to war for you in the press, on the dugout, on the touchline. You go to war for me on the pitch.
Centre circle as well.
Yeah. But that's what we need. You look at the teams that are bottom at Christmas and end up staying up and all this kind of thing. They have spirit, they have belief, they have fight. And I think that's what he's instilled, as well as the confidence and the belief. He's kind of got this mentality of, forget the referees, forget these other teams. We're Wolverhampton, and we're going to get out of this together. And that's what we're going to do.
Can I build on that? Oh, my God. This is... So you allowed Paul to talk about psychology, so I have to be allowed for 10 seconds to talk about marketing because I'm a sports marketing keynote speaker. There is one thing that has happened in the last 6 months that every person from around the world has tweeted me about and said, have you seen? And believe it or not, it's a piece of marketing from Wolverhampton Wanderers. There is a film that went out when we signed Diego Costa with actual live wolves, as you know. The thing that the trainer said to get the wolves to show their teeth and to be very scary, where even Diego was scared, was a keyword called TC. So I want to ask all three of you, who are the players that are going to have a bit between their teeth where you say TC and they're going to make us climb up the leagues? Who are they? And you only get one player, and it can't be Neves because we know it's Neves. Who are those people that have it? They have literally the bit between their teeth. They are going to get us out of this. You only have one choice, and it can't be Neves because we already know him.
Go on, Paul. I
say Mario Lemina. I think when he came on, he made a big difference. He won tackles, some really good interceptions, and I think was it when Traore nearly scored at the end? I think that might have come from a good Lemina tackle, and I think that's what we've brought him in for, to be like a midfield enforcer, to be assertive, aggressive, high intensity. And so that would be my answer, Mario Lemina.
I'm going to go next. I'm going to go with I think Lemina's a good one. Daniel Pundit. He might be small, but I think I'm calling him the mighty atom. He's literally ready to explode all the time, but he's got that fight and passion, and he don't care about his size. He won't let anyone put anything on him. He will give as good as he's got. He's like a little terrier. He's small, but he's got a big bite, and he can put the ball in the net. So that's my answer. Jack?
You sound like your dad. Dazzling. What's the name your dad calls him?
He calls him Bonanza. And by the way, my dad has actually. He calls Pundit Bonanza. He calls Tuna. He calls Raul Royal, and now Julian Lopetegui. He's decided he's calling him Las Vegas. If you watch the match reaction, he calls him Las Vegas because he just gives everyone a name, and that's Lopetegui, Las Vegas.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right, go on. My player that you've just been talking about, you've just mentioned him, Kuna.
Wow.
I watch him. I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm. He's like a spark of lightning, isn't he? You watch the videos that he's put out. You know, there's that brilliant video where he was talking after the game at Liverpool about his song, and he was going, yeah, that's me. I think what he brings to that team is so much energy. And again, we're talking about that confidence, that belief. That's where that comes from. Because everyone has jobs. When you're in like a work, an office, wherever it is, I work in a school. When you've got people that are enthusiastic, that look like they want to be there, that are enjoying the job, it lifts everyone else. When you've got people who are like, oh, Monday again, here we go, it just brings everyone down. I think Kuna's the kind of guy who's going to be like, let's have it today in training. Let's go full contact. Let's do this. Let's do. And I think he's going to be really important in terms of that, the energy he's going to bring.
Brilliant answers. Right, to finish off this section of the show, we've got to finish off our highlight of the day. I know, Jackie, you've done yours, and I think Memphis you've done, but like man of the match and your performance rating. We'll go with Paul first.
Performance rating 7. I think if we'd have got that second goal, which I think was so important, I'd give it higher. That was what was lacking for me. And my highlight of the day was sitting in Lupo Lounge after the match with a pint, knowing that we've got 3 points in the bag and we were at the drop zone. So just that feeling of like, after the game with a beer, for me, that was my highlight.
Fantastic. Jack?
7.5. I mean, I think there's still a way to go. We're all getting quite excited about getting out the bottom 3 and getting these points. I mean, we're still not the finished article, I don't think, under Julien. Can I make a really quick point on his substitutions? His substitutions are brilliant. So yesterday, 84th minute, he took Bueno off and brought Totti on.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy next to me, I said, I'll tell you what he's going to do here. He's going to play the back 3. He's going to put Totti in there, and he's going to drop Ait-Nouri back to left wing back. He didn't do that. He put Totti on at left back because he knew that Jared Bowen had done nothing all game. So he said, you know what? Totti can cope on at left back against Bowen because he's offering nothing. When we need to defend, Semedo can drop into right centre half, which he did, and Lemina is going to cover right back against Ben Rama, and they're going to double up because he's the threat, and it worked brilliantly. Now, I don't think many managers in the league would think that. They just do the straight swap that we all thought, Totti will come on to the left centre half and Ait-Nouri will drop back in. But he actually looked and thought, the threat's coming from that side. So we can just bring the player on there and just keep them quiet, and then we can double up on this side where the threat is. I thought that was genius. And I think that's going to make such a big difference going forward in these tight games, because we're not clinical, so we're never going to be 3-0, 4-0 up. We're going to be 1-0 up in a lot of games. So if he can make substitutions that are just going to nullify the opposition in the last 5-10 minutes, it's going to be so important for us. So 7.5 is the performance rating. There's still things to work on, but we're making a really solid base. I think we'd have all took 7 points from his first 4 league games.
Oh, absolutely.
We would have done. Man of the match, I'm going to go with Semedo. I'm not his biggest fan. I still think that, he's got a lot to do, but yesterday was the kind of player that a £32 million right back should look like. Up and down the pitch all game, offered a threat going forward, defended very, very solidly. If he can keep that up, that's going to be good. And then highlight of the day was the final whistle. When that relief and everyone's going, here we go. That was what we wanted.
Let's just see that again.
Go on.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Hold on, here we go.
Come on, we deserve it.
Oh, that's so good to feel that, just to relive that again. And Jack, to be fair, on the substitutions, you make an absolutely brilliant point. John, yours?
Okay, so I've already said that my man of the match is Max Kilman, and I ran the data on that like a true Ted Lasso. But I want to say that sitting for the first time in the South Bank and being able to see how we were working out of the back in this high risk reward, I got to see things, and I got to get really frustrated, and my heart monitor was going off, like palpitations and everything. But there was a moment, and it wasn't near me in the South Bank. It was actually exactly in between you and me, Dave. It was in the middle of the pitch. There was, I think, 1 minute left, and I actually think J-Lo had told the players, Simon Hooper is the lowest he gives the lowest amount of yellow cards in all of the league. He's 20th out of 21st. You're going to be able to play. He's not going to call anything. Basically, tackles were flying in the middle of the pitch because we were defending for our lives. I think Cunha actually led a lot of these tackles. I mean, it looked like I was in Serbia watching Partizan versus Belgrade, like just tackles flying, legs breaking, everything, because they were told this guy's going to let you play. We gave it fight and we held on to, as Jack said, the final whistle. But that moment where all these tackles were flying in the middle with 2 minutes left, absolutely my highlight.
I love it. Absolutely love it, mate. Brilliant. Some fantastic frog in my throat. Fantastic comments. Right, we're going to bring on the wheel of death.
Oh, no.
For you now.
Sounds a bit severe.
Oh my God.
Extreme.
I didn't sign up for that.
Here we go. Spin the wheel. What we're going to get? If you were an animal, we'll go with Paul first. I'm gonna leave John till last because this is going to be funny as. If you were an animal, what animal would you be and why, Paul?
I think strangely I might have answered this one before on here, but I'll give my answer again. I'd say that I'd be a sheepdog because I just need exercising constantly to be tired out. So that's what kind of animal I'd be, an animal that just needs to be running to the ground.
I like that answer.
Brilliant.
Jack?
That's great.
Yeah, I think I've had this one as well before. I said a wolf, didn't I? I like being part of a pack. I like having a responsibility. I like having a role within a group. So I'm going with the wolf.
Fantastic. John, I dare to ask.
Okay. You shouldn't do this because I love this question. It's the central part of my keynote speeches about curiosity, so you'll know exactly where I'm going. I actually think the thing that makes people kind of stick to you like glue is curiosity, and while it may be annoying as hell, the most curious animal in the world is the squirrel. And they are always curious about what's new and what's next, but they do dig deep to hide their nuts, etc. So I think curiosity runs the world, and I would love to be a squirrel. I'll even wear a costume for you, Dazzling Dave, next time if you allow me to be on the show.
I'm sorry, if you're going to wear a squirrel costume, you can come on the show, man. I'm not being funny, but this is going to be a TikTok excerpt. I'm sure it is, and you're going to have to. Are you going to wear a squirrel costume?
Absolutely. I've got pretty much 20 different animals in my office. So yeah, I can just run over to obviously Memphis. I can just run over to Memphis and get my squirrel costume.
Well, I'll tell you what, everyone will go nuts if you wear that.
Did you get that? Did you get that? Nuts, squirrels. Oh my.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but brilliant. Guys, listen, that's been brilliant fun. John, mate, I'm telling you, next time, put the squirrel costume on. You're definitely on. Paul, mate, I'm so glad. How does it feel to have to be back properly?
Feels great. I've missed it, and I'm looking forward to going to the Etihad with you on Sunday.
Yeah, with me and Paul, producer, and Paul's dad, Chris. Is Balak going to that one?
No, he's not going. So
yeah, things are going. But we're going to the Etihad together, so we're looking forward to that one. And Jack, I know you'll be there because you go home and away pretty much everywhere as well. So fantastic. And John, looking forward to many more contributions from you. You've made a real impression
guys.
on the show tonight. Much. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
All right, see you all, guys. We're going to bring on our final guest now. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
In the section.
Thanks, guys. We are Wolf.
See ya.
Jack, you're funny as. Right, that's absolutely brilliant, guys. Absolutely love this. And don't forget, if you do want to support the channel and help the channel, and do you want to get all the little emojis and the little coloured wolf heads, and you want to get on the members chat, why don't you just become a channel member? You know, we've got loads that we chat every single day. It's well worth it. I'm sure a lot of the channel, the members will tell you about that. And I say it helps support the channel as well. Finally, last but not least, we're welcoming back Nathan, and we've got Josh. I need to change the background for this. There we go. It looks good. Nathan, good to have you back. Your first time back in the new year. How are you?
It's been a while. I'm good, Dave. Thank you. Yourself?
Mate, I think we're all got a little bit of a skip in our step today after coming out the bottom three. I know it's, we could go back in next week, play Man City, but it's, I think the performances, like you say, and everything have been good, and getting the results certainly makes us smile. Josh, how about you?
You're right, Dave. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good, Tar. Happy that we're at the bottom three for now, so we'll see what happens. Point against City, I'd take to go into a bit of a we've got a break, haven't we? I think if we don't beat Liverpool, so.
Depends on what happens with the FA Cup, doesn't it? Because if we win the FA Cup, do we not have to play Brighton the following weekend? If we win the next, win the replay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it depends on what happens with Liverpool. It's the 29th. 1:30 kickoff. It's a Sunday, isn't it? If we get through. So Nathan, how are you feeling? What points do you want to make?
I mean, a lot of it's been echoed, I think, already tonight. I think it was a decent-ish performance, albeit a little bit laboured, I think, against West Ham. But they were set up to come and get a point. And I mean, that West Ham team compared to last season, they just look abysmal. They've got absolutely no fight in them, and you can tell they're not playing for the manager.
What do you think's actually happened with West Ham? Because you look at last year, they were obviously top six. I think they finished. They'd had a big run in the was it the Europa League or the did they get to the semi-final or something like that? Yeah.
Well, I can't recall. They certainly did well. I think they've certainly wasted a lot of money in the transfer window. They're one of those classic teams that just seem to have money burning in their pocket. And they bought that guy, that Italian striker that came on, who hasn't pulled up any trees. I think they've just not strengthened in the right places, and I think it showed. And the fact the weekend, what's his name wasn't playing at the back, really hurt them. Dawson, I think, wasn't playing because obviously the link with us. That really seemed to hurt them. But they just sat back, and there was no ambition from the team to get forward. And we were a little bit laboured in getting through them, but it was very tricky. And I think, as somebody said earlier, the idea was to try and pull them up the pitch a bit, to try and play behind them. And I think Núñez does that fantastically. He gets past a couple of players. And creates, some really good stuff for the team. So it was one of those games you were just glad to get over the line and get 3 points, because success breeds success. And who's to say we can't go to, the likes of City next weekend to get something, because we're starting to pick up, and they're not exactly pulling up any trees at the moment either.
Absolutely, mate. Some great points. Just before we get on to Josh, Cyborg, I know you've just literally become a member. I've seen on the on my back end on the chat. So I will, after the end of this game, for you, put the link on the community tab, which goes to the members, so that you can get on the Discord group and you can welcome yourself. So thanks for joining the channel. It's much appreciated. Josh, on the points that Nathan's made there, do you think West Ham are a bit burnt out from last year? Or
I don't know what's going on there with them. They've got the players like we have, and they just don't seem to be firing. Antonio's not the player he has been. Fornals has been poor. Lanzini as well. Those three attacking usually are all right. They've got a bit about them. Then Declan Rice sitting in the base of midfield. And I think he's a brilliant player, and you can tell he's not happy. There was an interview that I've seen on Facebook via Sky Sports, and he's miserable. He's had enough. He looks lost.
He wants to leave West Ham, doesn't he? He wants to get out. Really, I think. I mean, he's a good player, and I think his West Ham times are up.
Yeah,
and he just, the West Ham fans are obviously incredibly frustrated. You see the stuff with them. Is it something like they got a draw again? Was it? No, it was Everton that got the draw against City, wasn't it? I think they're on a.
They haven't won in 7 games, I think, something stupid like that.
Yeah, and the West Ham fans all want to get rid of Moyes, but it seems like both the Everton board and the West Ham board seem to be reluctant to make a change, and it seems. Do both these two teams play each other next weekend?
Yeah, they do.
That's a massive game for both
Saturday,
clubs.
I think.
Anyway, on to the game itself. Josh, what points would you like to make?
I thought it was a steady performance. I'm growing to realise now that the passing the ball across the back line is the way we want to go forward. Although a bit nervy at times, and I've seen a few on Twitter say we need to realise now that is the way we're going to play, like you said earlier, to draw them out. But I think we'll look a lot more confident at doing it. We did at Forest second half. We had the ball movement with Neves and Nunes in front of the back four and the ball game between the back four. It was unreal. I know there was times yesterday it was a bit squeaky bum time. You're like, oh, what are you doing? But I think we've got to realise now we are looking a lot more confident in doing it. And I think the fullbacks are coming back a bit more for it before. Bueno and Tomato were too far. Even when Bruno tried to do it, they were too far forward. Way too far forward. So you couldn't get it out. It was only ever going into Neves going back. But now it's moving quicker, a lot quicker. Which I think Kilman's adapting more to it because he used to like 4 or 5 steps before he released it. He's coming to his feet, he's turning and releasing it, which is a lot better.
And Nathan, do you think talking about that, along the back line and the way they're trying to play it out, and Neves at times plays like a deep quarterback, doesn't he? To forgive the American football term, that's got to be something that they've worked on. They've probably had the defence working on that with the attackers trying to get the ball off them and stuff like that, practicing that, moving it and then trying to get it into midfield. Because it seems to me that they've worked a lot on that to try and achieve coming out and pulling them in and creating that space. And we did it a bit against Liverpool as well.
Yeah, we did it really well against Liverpool. I think that sometimes you would like to see the team take a little bit more of a risk and, lose the ball by trying, some of those penetrating balls, those long passes, go long ball occasionally. I don't think it hurts sometimes to do that. But you're right, they've obviously worked on it. You can tell this team is so much sharper, fitter and stronger under Lopetegui than they were under Bruno because the fitness wasn't there before. He said that they're kind of running out of steam in the last 5-10 minutes of games, and I still think that's prevalent. It was against West Ham. I think someone earlier mentioned the substitutions were really. It was a really good call. I think the subs have been very strong under Lopetegui, but sometimes that change of the system, where he maybe goes a little bit more defensive, I think just allows that pressure to come on a little bit too much. And we saw that against West Ham. I think that last 10 minutes, we were absorbing a hell of a lot. I don't want to be Mr. Negative all the time, but I just felt, we should maybe carry on taking the game to them. And when we took not Guedes, what's his name, the young right back off, and put Totti on, it just felt like a little bit of a shift, which we could have done with that. But saying that, still a very credible performance, and that final whistle when those 3 points come was a blessed relief.
Yeah, and something we've not really touched on tonight, which I think we should talk about between us three whilst we've got you on there. Obviously, Wolves making waves in the transfer market. We've seen that there's an extra 2 players imminently coming in. This is quite exciting players. But let's talk about the one that has signed on Friday. Before it was officially announced, Lopetegui basically talked about he might be in the squad for Saturday. I'm not sure. Can anyone tell me? We were talking about this with Emma. There's a film. I don't know whether it was Judge Dredd or something where they're in a cryogenic thing and he comes out and he's got that haircut. I'm not. And Emma was talking about. Watch that film. It's Stallone's in it, and who else is in it? Sandra Bullock's in it as well. It's a bit of a sci-fi thing, and they're in a cryogenic. And then they bring him out because he's the criminal, and they bring Stallone out as well. If anyone can tell me what that film is, it'd be really, really interesting to know. Lamina, Josh, thoughts?
For his cameo that he had, I was impressed.
Demolition Man.
The one thing that surprises me with him, the size of him, he's massive.
Yeah,
he looks a lot more built than he did when he was in the Premier League the last time. He's put a bit of muscle on him, to be fair to him, looking at him. And that tackle in the middle of the field, 2-footed, slap bang, got the ball, and took the man as well. And you could see, I can't think who it was now. It may have been, I don't think it was Ogbonna because Ogbonna was playing at the back. But you could tell the West Ham player didn't want to know after that. Lamina went straight through him, made sure he got the man, made sure he won the ball, and we went on an attack. And I think that was a cracking tackle.
Andy DeWolf says it's going to be epic, and everyone's been saying on that film it is Demolition Man, and the actor was Wesley Snipes. So we're going to have to get try and find a Wesley Snipes and Demolition Man thing for the next podcast as well, mate. Josh, you make some great points about that in Lamina. I mean, do you concur with that, Nathan?
Yeah, I don't know whether he's been brought in just to make the numbers up. And there's reports at Fulham and Southampton, his attitude wasn't always the greatest, and that's why he's moved on. But the cameo did show, as Josh said, that tackle in the middle of the park really made a statement. And we do lack some of that bite sometimes in the middle with Moutinho, Neves, and Nunes, all very pretty, pretty players with the ball. Neves has got a bit of a tackle in him, but I think we still lack that bite. And with Boubacar injured, that sort of defensive midfielder, which I know Neves has dropped back and he's playing more of that quarterback role, as you said, Dave, and he's spraying the ball around. But you don't really want him to be the instigator in there of the, breaking the play up. He's a better player than that. So you get someone in there who's a bit nasty, a bit like Costa, who I think I don't think has scored yet, Dave. If memory serves me right,
he still hasn't scored,
and our bet's still on, I think.
Yeah. Well, what bet was that, Nath?
It was only a tenner, Dave. Tenner to charity. I think you remember. I said months ago Costa wouldn't score. It's an abysmal signing,
and I'll win though. So but like with the changes, Kuna coming in, Raul starting to get ahead of him in the pecking order as well, and he's injured. My bet's not looking as good as it was.
Not really.
Yeah, but we'll
anyway, sorry, I didn't want to bring that one up. But anyway, back to Lamina. Decent signing. And you mentioned a couple of players coming in earlier, and I think it's great to see the squad starting to build with a bit of quality, because that's what we're really severely lacking at the moment. And I don't think we're going to see a big number 9 come in. I don't think that's where, this transfer window is going to take us. I think the guy you mentioned earlier from PSG, he's got a good track record with Sporting. I think perhaps he's going to be the answer. Perhaps he's in the middle, because Kuna.
I'm quite excited about him because, Sarabia looks like he's going to come in, and then you got Gomez as well, who's a young talent.
He's meant to be flying over today, isn't he?
He's flying over today, and then obviously, Dawson looks like he's. I mean, that he was on the motorway on the way up to us in the summer until West Ham called him back because of the move that Villa made, and then it changed all the plans. But he is like a bit of a West Ham legend, Dawson, and a lot of the West Ham fans have said, like, we lose him, he's the only one that's showing any fight. But he wants to move back to the Midlands, which is close to where his family is, to end out his career. And so that's why he's really keen to come to Wolves. And it'll be good to have a character like Dawson, if he does come, in the dressing room as well, don't you think?
Bit of an experience, haven't we?
Absolutely. We've lost that experience. Bruno decided to get rid of all, the Cody, Seiss, Bolly. Just criminal, losing all that experience in the dressing, all those leadership qualities that you get with those players, especially Cody. We've mentioned Dave many times. To replace that with someone like Dawson, I think would be good. And we need that. Those young defenders, Kilman and Collins, sometimes they have off games, and you just could bring that bit of experience in. I think Collins, was probably, for me, that second half was one of his worst performances against West Ham. He lost that ball so many times, nearly cost us a goal a couple of times. I'm not saying he should be out of the team, but maybe, sometimes just give him a rest and take the pressure off.
Yeah, to be fair, but the other thing that Collins, he made lots of mistakes. He made some good tackles, some good headed clearances, and Kilman and Collins in that respect do, and they do try to play the ball. But sometimes I think he just gets a little bit too nervous when they're a little bit on the high pressing on us. And Kilman seems a little bit more cooler than Collins in that particular area of the pitch as well. Josh, before we get on to obviously talking about the man of the match and stuff like that, and the same question to you, what is the biggest change that you can see Now you've seen a few games under Lopetegui.
It's got to be confidence, belief, and energy levels is the big one for me. They look a lot sharper and a lot quicker than what they did under Bruno. And I think he come out in Pundit's interview. I think it was on Match of the Day. I think I just literally watched it. And he says, like, we're fitter, we're moving better, we're moving the ball quicker. And I think that was like a dig at Bruno, as if to say, look, we weren't training properly.
I don't think Pundit was happy under Bruno Lage at all. I think he was very unhappy. I think he kind of wanted to move, but now I think Lopetegui's got him as one of his main men.
Yeah, he looks regenerated. Pundit does. He's always up. He's running for the ball. He's tracking back as well. Every winger that comes on the pitch, even Adama, and I said it every time he's come on. I said, "Oh, we'll lose that tracking back now when Huang's gone off or Pundit has gone off for him." And to be fair to Adama, he's tracking back as well, and none of them were doing that under Bruno.
The other thing as well, Nathan, I've got the same question to you. I've noticed, like, when they come out after half time, they're actually warming up properly again. It's like Bruno, it was like they couldn't be bothered before.
No, I agree. I think, Josh makes a great point about sharpness, fitness. We can all see the beliefs back in the team, but there's a togetherness. Lucy mentioned it earlier, and you can see it on the pitch. They're playing just more as a collective, less as individuals. They're a happier team. They're not perfect, but he's getting them much, much better than they were under Bruno. Bruno should have gone at the end of last season. We all know that. But the players, and we've all heard the stories about, them not really training properly, him disappearing after games. You need that togetherness. And Julian's come in, and there's a smile on the face. You can see it in the training pitch. You can see it in the pictures that are, in the papers. It's great to see. And I think we can only, with the quality coming into this team, you can only see it's going one way. And I was never really worried about a relegation battle, but when we're in that bottom three, you're always a little bit sceptical. But you look at how the other teams are performing. You mentioned it earlier, Dave. I think somebody else mentioned it, that the Southampton, the Leicester, the Everton, the problems that are going on at some of those teams. We haven't got that. We're going the other way. We're an upward trajectory, and I think that can only be, hopefully that can only mean that we'll get out of this and we can build next season.
And he's got a lot. I think everyone within the squad, they respect him. They respect him, and like I think I'm pointing back to earlier, he's showing that fight and passion. And I think Jack mentioned it. He'll go into war for the players and for the team and for the fans, and he's leading that from how he's portraying himself, and they really are buying into it. And it takes a while. This squad, this team is evolving into a new kind of animal, a new wolf. Maybe it will be a dire wolf that we talked about at the beginning of the show. Maybe it'll be, maybe it'll be an even greater manager than what Nuno was for us. There's people starting to already see that and talk about it. It's early, but it's early days. These steps are baby steps that we're taking at the moment. I'd love us. I hope that we beat Liverpool at the week, on Tuesday, because I feel like that they'll own one and they'll want to do it. And it'd be nice to get through to the next round of the cup. But like the Premier League is the main thing. We need to get away from that bottom three, as far away from there as we can, because we've got to play Arsenal on the last day of the season as well. I'm hoping that they're on the beach like we were when we won League One, actually, and on that game. But if there's anything on that game at the last match of the season, that's going to be like tough. So I'm hoping that we're well away from it by then. And, it's Man City next week. It's a tough one. Josh, what are you thinking on that?
I'll take a draw. I think we've got to try and get a point. I'd love us to win. I think they played midweek as well, though, so we haven't got the backlash of them just losing to United.
Man City play midweek?
Yeah, sure they do. I had a look earlier, so I have to double check. I'm pretty sure they do. They play what? Because that's why it's a Sunday. I think they play Wednesday.
Oh, is that is that not Champions League? Is it? Shoot, can't, because
Liverpool, no, it's the league against Spurs on Thursday.
Oh, so they've got a league game on Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
8 o'clock kick on Thursday against Spurs.
Oh, that's very interesting, because that's good for us, because we'll get an extra 48 hours as well.
Yeah.
So they have got 2 home games. So a point. Nathan, thoughts on that game?
I don't think we'll get anything, but you never know, do you? I think we've always got to try and stay optimistic. They've not been brilliant at home. They're losing. You know, they've lost games. They lost. I mean, the United game the other day. You know, we talk about. I know there's been a lot of conspiracy theorists around Wolves, the Liverpool game, the decisions that went against us, the Forest thing.
Yeah.
I don't really buy into any of that. I just think it's a bit coincidental that they were strung together. But you look at the Man U, Man City, and Man City were on the end of some pretty poor decisions.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's always that elitism that we try and we try and think that Wolves.
You have to wear red. Forest red, Liverpool red, United red. Is there a coincidence?
It annoys me a little bit because, I don't think there is any conspiracy. I think it's just poor. Those decisions at Liverpool were poor, and you're right. Redemption would be a brilliant win on Tuesday, and I think they're there, as you said, they're there for the taking. So if we go into City with a bit of confidence, who knows? You know, a couple of new signings in the team and mix it up a little bit.
We've beaten City before. I think Lopetegui is the sort of manager. He'll have a real plan for that game. And I'll listen. You know, I'll go into the Liverpool game and thinking, they're always going to be favourites. You go to Man City away at Man City, they're always going to be favourite. But this is football. It's football. Anything can happen. And all of a sudden, I'm going to that game like I would have gone to. Are you going to that one, Josh? Are you going to City?
No, it's on the Sunday. I can't make it that one now.
Yeah.
When they moved it.
Well, I'm going, and I'm not going with like an expectation we're just going to lose. Like I'm going now with some hope that we can get something because the way they're fighting and playing for each other, who's to say we can't get a result? I went to when we went to play Liverpool at Anfield in the Cup, they played a full strength Liverpool side and we made 9 changes and we should have won the game. So it's a funny old game, football is. And I'm hoping we can go and get something out and keep that momentum going. And who's to say that we can't nick a win? And also, when's the last time we had, does anyone know when the last time a player was sent off against us? Does anybody know?
Against us?
Yeah. We've had 2 or 3 sendings off our own this season in quick sets. When was the last time anyone was sent off against us?
Was it Bird Leno? Arsenal? When he during lockdown?
Is it that long ago?
I think so.
Because sooner or later, surely the law of averages says that we're going to play someone with 10 men and get 3 points. I
think it was Leno when he handballed it.
Well, I'm playing my Joker card anyway now. I'm going to call it now. I'm going to say it has to happen against City at the weekend. They get players sent off in the first 10 minutes. There you go. And then we can do what we did to them at Molineux a few years ago when we were 2-0 down. And that was a famous. Carl said it's Leno at Arsenal. Hey, Josh, you've pulled that one out the bag, man. That's got to be nearly 2 years ago.
2 seasons ago, yeah. It was the lockdown season because it was on telly.
And how many red cards have we had since then?
Jimenez, Costa,
Collins,
yeah.
At least 3. So there you go. Interesting. Right, Nathan. Highlight or moment of the day can be anything at all. Your man of the match and your player rating.
I think it's going to be just follow everyone else on this one. I think, my moment of the match was the final whistle, just those 3 points, just, the heartbeat going down to a normal level after that. And Semedo, I know it's what everyone said, but Semedo has been fantastic some seasons, and then this season he's been particularly poor. And everyone's been talking about we need a new right back, we need to get someone out. But actually, he could be the solution if he keeps performing. And I'd probably echo the other guys and say a 6. I think a 6 out of 10 at the moment. We should have killed the game off a little bit better and not allowed that sort of last 5-10 minutes of pressure. So I'm always a little bit more on the pessimistic side and say a 6.
No, I'm not going to say you're pessimistic. I'd say you're more on the measured side. You're kind of like measured and stuff like that. So if you give a high mark, I know it's a really good performance because you're consistent. You're like the Craig Revel Horwood of the panel, really, aren't you? You know what I mean? You'll always just be, if you get a 10 from you, it's not just good, it's outstanding. Josh, to you. We're going to do your moment of the game last. Do your performance rating, man of the match, and then moment of the day.
So performance rating 7 for me. So I think we moved the ball well. It's just a bit shaky at times, but we'll get used to that. We're getting more confident about it game by game. Man of the match for me is Nunes. I thought he off the ball, running with the ball, turning their midfielders, turning their strike. It was brilliant. He's since Lopetegui's come in, he's been different gravy. He's absolutely fantastic. We've got a player on our hands there. I thought for me, he was outstanding against them.
He seems to be getting better and better. Yeah. And since Lopetegui as well, he seems to be really starting to shine. He just needs that goal now.
Yeah. Get an absolute thunder. I won't say the next bit. Thunder goal will do. I think we can see one coming soon outside the box, and he just smashes it one. That'd be quite good to see. I've said that now. It'll be against Man City, and I'll be there.
But you'll still be able to watch it back, mate, and I'll hopefully capture it. And your moment of the day or your highlight of the day?
Highlight of the day for me has got to be the Lamina tackle. He was on the pitch, literally 2 minutes, and he's made that tackle, and it set a precedent on what he's going to be like when we're seeing out games. I think he's going to be a real big player for us in keeping a lead in the last 10, 15 minutes. I think he'll come into his own, and I think he'll offer something. But that tackle just set the precedent. And just, like I said, you were saying earlier, a player who's got a bit of bite.
Don't you think we've needed a bit of bite and a little bit of nastiness in the team? And we don't want to be nasty in an unsportsmanlike way, but like we were too, like, being rolled over and having our bellies tickled, and it's okay. We're supposed to be a wolf. You come near our belly, we'll snap it. We'll snap at you. If you get any closer, we'll bite you. We need bite in midfield. We need a little bit of needle. We need a little bit of nastiness. We need a little bit of the dark arts as well. And I think Lopetegui is going to bring all that to the fore, and it's positive. We can't get carried away. It's some good results. We had like 3, results away from home. We should have probably deserved better than what we got. And, it was a win against West Ham, which I think we warranted. But it was a very nervous last 10, 15 minutes, definitely, without any shadow of a doubt. Any final thoughts before we get onto the wheel for everyone from Nathan first and then Josh to finish the show?
Yeah, just slightly more optimistic than I have been, Dave. I know, like I say, my default position tends to be that sort of more pessimistic, half empty glass. But no, I think just the last few games have just encouraged me for the rest of the season, because you can just see the fight's back, the energy's back, and the belief is back in the players and the fans. The fans were a little bit more raucous on Saturday because we're enjoying the football again. We haven't seen many goals. It's been pretty poor. I think there's only Gillingham in the whole of the league that have scored less goals than us. So it would be nice to get someone in who can, score us a few more goals and get the entertainment levels back up. But no, it's just Say again, Dave.
I'll keep relying on Pundit.
But yeah, it's just nice to have a weekend with a win and a smile on our face, I think. So bring on the rest of the season.
And Josh?
Just the excitement's back. Playing well, looking confident, and we're just going to stick with it and get behind the boys, and we should be fine.
Love it. Right. To finish off, the wheel is spinning. What's it going to be? Oh. What's the most embarrassing thing? Now, if John was on, I'd say it was probably going to be dressing up in a squirrel costume to come on the show. But Nathan?
Oh man, this is tough. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done? God, there's so many to choose from. Because I'm old and wizened. One perhaps I wasn't particularly. Let's pick one. I wasn't particularly. I could see. Look at Josh looking and just thinking. Yeah, I remember once I worked at Strikers down in Bushbury, if anyone remembers it. It was a bowling alley over in.
Do remember that? Yes, the bowling place.
Bowling alley
I had a few
that
nights there, mate.
mysteriously burnt down, I think, for insurance purposes. Yeah, I think I worked there for a couple of years, so I'm all right at the old bowling. But I remember there was a girl there, and we all worked together, and there was a girl who we were going to McDonald's, and everyone was going, "Oh, what you getting? What you getting?" And she said, "Oh, I'm gonna have a quarter pounder and a milkshake and some chips." And I looked at her and I went, "Do you think you should?" Because she was a little bit of a bigger girl, and she burst out into tears, and I felt like such a shithead. However, driving to McDonald's, I said to my mate, "I'll buy her some flowers to apologise, and by Monday she'll be my girlfriend." And we dated for 3 months, and she dumped me for an army guy. So that was not one of my best moments.
For a Big Mac.
Hey. Very good.
I think that's a good story as well, and then you dated her, and it's quite nice how you get together. It's like I wouldn't say that's the best way to do it, but like it works for you.
No.
It worked for you.
Not the best chat of line. I mean, there's many embarrassing things, but that one springs to mind. I can see Josh now has finished thinking and is going to come up with a view.
Josh, we need to know.
So it's probably a bit of a light one, but the most embarrassing thing was I was playing at Symphony Hall with the band I used to be in, with the school concert band, and during the one bit of the piece, it goes really quiet. It was about it was about 9/11 when Bell Soar or something like that piece was called. During the one bit, it was obviously a wine glass pitched to the right note. And we had to stand at the front, two of us, and finger around the glass whilst it was all quite a quiet part during this piece. And we had to take our shoes off. So before the piece started, took my shoes off, ready for when it was happening. Stood up, did the job. It worked fine. Finished playing, walked off. Stage has been cleared for the next band to set up. Comes over the tannoy. Can someone who has left their shoes on the stage please come and pick them back up? I had to go back on stage in front of everybody, pick my shoes back up with no shoes on, and walk back out. There's a couple of 1,000 people and me walking with a pair of shoes off stage, so I left them on there.
That's classic. I'll give you a little one of mine. It was when I was working at GKN Sankey Vending. Kind of embarrassing, I suppose, but it's kind of funny. Basically, I was a material expediter, which is a posh word for progress chaser, which basically is a posh word for I had to move parts out the store on a trolley to the line. It was my first proper job that I had. My dad worked there at the time, and I guess that's how I got the job. I didn't stay there long because I was more like talking than working with my hands. And then I went to work for the Express and Star, which is what me and Nath have a little bit of common ground there in the advertising department. But anyway, this foreman hated me because I used to hide from him all the time because he just used to get me to do stuff. And I weren't very old. And anyway, I remember walking down the corridor, the line, and on either side, there was 2 assembly lines on either side. And I was walking down this corridor and I heard him shout, "David." And I carried on walking and I could hear footsteps. There for footsteps coming up behind me. So he was about 5 foot behind me and he shouted at the top of his voice, "David," like this. So I had to turn round and the whole assembly line on both sides turned round and stopped to listen, stopped to hear what was going on because he shouted so loud. And he went, "Did you not hear me?" And I turned round and I went, "Yes," the second time. Yes. And I just felt like the floor, but it was like he just like stopped and looked and he couldn't believe I'd said it. And it kind of stunned him really. And I just walked off. He didn't know what to say to that. And I went into the cafeteria a bit and had a cup of tea. But it was anyway. That was one that sprang to mind. Guys, you've been absolutely brilliant. And guys in the chat, you've been absolutely fantastic. Just to let you know that we're on currently 30,395 subscribers. So there's over 160 watching live at the moment. We've had over 200 points. So if you're watching this back or you're watching it now, please consider subscribing to the channel. Smash a like on the video because it lets YouTube know that you've enjoyed it. And if you're watching it back on Catch Up TV, obviously leave your comments in the comment section below, or if you're listening to it on the podcast, which goes out tomorrow morning, please free to get involved and leave a rating on that. And guys, it's good time. We've got smiles on our face. We're feeling a lot more positive. Even Nathan has got a smile on his face. And we've got. Are you both going to the Liverpool game on Tuesday?
Yeah.
So you're there. Where are you going to be?
Go on, Nate. I'll let you go first.
Steve Ball, as always.
Steve
Ball stand.
We've got all the stands covered. We've got pretty much everything covered. Let's hope it's a good night. More positivity, and I've got a sneaky feeling we might do Liverpool, and I've got a sneaky feeling we're going to get something out of City. But that's just me, the ever positive, Dazzling Dave. Until the next one, everyone. Lots of love to you, your friends and family, wherever you're watching in the world. We do appreciate you supporting and joining in the chat tonight. And from myself, Nathan, Josh, and all the rest of the guys, always Wolves.
See you guys.